Parasha meditation, Parashat Masei. It's all about journeys. Jews love to travel, and since my early childhood, my parents used to take us children to different countries. In addition to our yearly trip to Israel to visit our grandparents, I still have a shelf full of national dolls from all different countries. At every stop on our journeys, there's always something to receive and elevate. During the Jewish people's long, widening exile and persecutions, we Jews often have to flee from place to place. Each location involved a particular rectification for our souls. My grandfather, Meir Erdeshik, Alav Shalom, he was born in Poland. He developed his business in Italy, found his wife in Germany, and settled in Denmark before making Aliyah to Israel. He knew 11 fluent languages fluently. So we lived in Bad Ain. Before we lived in Bad Ain, we lived in Israel since 1980, my husband and I. And then we were brutally uprooted from Israel for my husband to go pay back his conditional scholarship in medical school. So we lived 2 years in New York and 2 years in Memphis, Tennessee. So it's actually worked out really well for me because I got to learn a lot about the mentality, the American mentality. One was New York mentality, which is a whole other nationality, and another one was like out of towners. So that helped me really understand my different kind of students so much better. And now, since 1992, we returned to Israel and to Bat Ain. And here, B'ezrat Hashem, we hope to keep, not to have to move again. B'ezrat Hashem. So until the last 2 years, I've been going on my tours to America and to whole North America and also Mexico. And it's really interesting. A lot of the women that I met in my different classes that I gave, they have been making aliyah, and they're continuing to making aliyah. So I'm thinking that who knows why I had to go to these places. Maybe now it's not necessary anymore. We'll see. Maybe the sparks that I elevated there, they're all elevated already. But I know there's always a reason for every place that everyone lives. Why is that? Because we come into life with part of our soul sparks missing, and every stop on our journey is divinely guarded for the sake of redeeming these missing fragments of our own soul. So we have the ability to elevate these sparks. What do we need to be able to do that? We need to accept and cope with whatever place and situation in which we've been placed. So Parashat Masei ingrains within us the emunah that there is a purpose for every place on our path. So Parashat Masei talks about following the cloud. The children of Israel traveled from Ramses and encamped in Sukkot. They traveled from Sukkot and encamped in Etam at the edge of the wilderness. They traveled from Etam and turned back to Pi Hachirot, which is before Baal Tzafon, and encamped before Migdol. So it seems like a little bit repetitious that it has to both say where they traveled to and where it's obvious that they traveled from that same place. So Sforno says this is to teach us that some places were really, really hard to travel to, and some places were really, really challenging, and sometimes, and that includes both the encamping and the decamping. And therefore, it was really difficult to leave. It was just as difficult to leave a place suddenly without time to prepare than it was to come to a new place. And so this is why it's repeated, both the leaving and the coming. But the Parsha teaches us about the Israelites' steadfast emunah to follow the cloud, By Hashem's word they encamped, and by Hashem's word they traveled. So I really admire my students that I see. I'm pretty settled here in Bad Ain, but many of my students, they follow the cloud. They live like the Israelites in the desert. And that's, in a way, something I really admire, that they are able be to really have this emuna and really follow Hashem and feel out where the next stop is supposed to go. So it's interesting. The first verse in Parashas Masei, Ele Masei Bnei Israel. These are the journeys of the children of Israel. The first letter of each of these words, these 4 words, the first letter of each of them spells, is the acronym, or it's like the first letter of the 4 exiles that the Jewish people have endured, not in the right order. So it starts with Aleph, that stands for Edom, which is Rome. Then it goes to Masei, Mem, which is Media, Bnei, that is Babylon, Bet, and Israel, that's Yavan, Greece. These are the 4 archetypal exiles and historical exiles of the Jewish people. And also, these places are very similar in some ways, similar experience for the Jewish people to being in the exiled and traveling and journeying in the desert. And just like in the deserts, there were snakes, vipers, and scorpions, and thirst. So does each of these correspond to one of the 4 exiles that Israel endured? Snakes, that's Babylon. Vipers is Media. Scorpions is Greece. And thirst, Edom, which is our current exile, corresponds to Edom, Rome, our current exile. And so it's interesting that perhaps today we have more spiritual thirst than ever. And so it's interesting that in America, which is one of the, which is part of the exile of Edom, it is very, very difficult to leave. Somehow, that's what's my experience. It seems like North America has some kind of magnetic power to hold on to people, making it hard to leave its comforts. But I feel felt that already a few years ago when I wrote Pasha Meditations, that has begun to change. And I'm thinking maybe that's because we're already emptied out the sparks of America, and just like we did in Egypt, and then we can leave. So Parshat Masei opens by listing the 42 different stations that the Israelites encamped during their 40-year desert wandering. Some places stay really short, for just 12 hours. Other places they stay really long, like the longest is 19 years. So each place, it depends of how many sparks and how long it would take to extract these sparks. And so what are the qualifications for extracting sparks? Like what do you need to be able to do to extract sparks? So there are 3 qualifications that is taught by, I believe it's the Netivot Shalom. No, it's Or HaChaim, sorry. These are the 3 qualifications, and these could also be guidelines from us to extract sparks. We need to have the same. The Jewish people, were purified through the suffering in the iron furnace of Egypt. That's 1. That's what it says in the continuation of the verse, who came out of the land of Egypt. These are the journeys of the children of Israel according to the host that came out in the hand of Moshe and Aaron, and they came out of Egypt. Well, the whole sentence reads like this. These are the journeys of the children of Israel who came out of the land of Egypt by their host under the hand of Moshe and Aaron. So coming out of Egypt, that's alludes to suffering. Number 1 condition. Suffering helps a person to be pure. It gives atonement, and it and this is a prerequisite for extracting sparks, especially when we accept our suffering, with love. 2. All of the 600,000 Israelites had become united as one people, and this unity is connected into the Shekhinah, and that's alluded to by when it says by their host. All the hosts became like one. And 3, Moshe was considered as a unifying 3 upon which the 600,000 Israelite souls would each be compared to a shining fruit. And whenever they traveled, everything holy similar to the holiness of the Israelites attached itself to them. And that's alluded to under the hand of Moshe and Aaron. And they too, Moshe and Aaron, were completely unified. So today, we're also surrounded by impurity all around us, making our world filled with negative lower forces. That's actually a perfect breeding place for fallen spark. Falling sparks. The higher something is, the lower it falls. By strengthening in Emunah, we're actually searching from Hashem, whatever situation we're in, whatever place we may be, even if we're lost, that helps us to extract and elevate these fallen sparks. That's why we are where we are. Okay, now we get up to the meditation. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, and breathe slowly. Let all thoughts and background noises pass through you as you inhale and exhale slowly, rhythmically. Visualize the word Masei. Masei, my journeys. Inhale Mas, exhale I. Haha, we don't have time, but the instructions here are to repeat this breathing visualization over and over for 42 times, or as long as you can, like correspond to the 42 journeys. So we'll just do 3 more times. Mas, I. Mas, I. Mas, I. Altogether 4 for the 4 exiles. Visualize the mem as a flowing stream of water and a samach as a protective enclosure during all of your journeys. Reach new vistas with the eye of the ayin and integrate it into your personal experience with the possessive yud. Because masai means my, the I, the yud means my. My transform. That you transforms the Masa, the journey, into Masai, my journey. Inhale and meditate on how Hashem brings you to key places, ordeals, and crossroads in life in order to elevate you. Go back in time to the very first place you remember living. Realize how this place was an opportunity for tikkun, rectification, and self-perfection. Contemplate on each of the challenges you faced in this place. In your mind's eye, send Hashem's light to each of these challenges, even that they passed already, accepting that they were divinely sent in order to purify you. Allow yourself to access how each of these challenges helped you grow. Which character trait did they help you develop? Reframe each challenge as being the very best and most inspiring opening. Feel how it was God sent as an opportunity to connect even deeper with Hashem and with the divine aspect of yourself. You may repeat steps 6 to 10 with additional places in which you have lived, but that is going to have to wait to another time. Now, complete the meditation by sending Hashem's light to each of the places that you meditated on. Send Hashem's light to the place you live in now, realizing that where you are at this point in your life is only due to everything you've gone through during all of your previous journeys. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. These are the journeys of the Israelites who left Egypt on their way to the Holy Land. The 42 journeys from Egypt to the land of Israel parallel the phases each person experiences through his or her life. Each journey is about freeing ourselves, transcending the constraints that conceal God and his divine light from us. Throughout each of our journeys, we have the ability to subdue and sublimate the forces of evil that holds us back from achieving our spiritual potential. So let's become mindful throughout our journeys and phases in life so that we may learn to perceive the divine purpose of every stop on our way. Okay, so yeah.